Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show with your host, Shikama. New York City and Long Island are under a travel ban. It is official. Winter storm Jonas has turned into an actual blizzard now. What I reported before was a prediction of what the storm would do. They used models to predict the weather. It is now official. Snowfall has hit New York City. Let's get into this. New York City and Long Island were under a travel ban Saturday, including all transit from New Jersey bridges and tunnels into and out of the city, as a deadly blizzard left major city roadways and airports along the East Coast largely immobilized. More than 60 million people were under blizzard, winter storm, or freezing rain warnings as the storm's effects stretch from Georgia to Massachusetts, according to the Weather Channel. Some 250,000 customers were without power as the storm roared up the East Coast, according to the Weather Channel. The storm officially achieved blizzard status late Saturday in Washington, D.C., the National Weather Service said. At least 18 people died in storm-related incidents in Tennessee, Kentucky, Maryland, North Carolina, and Virginia, the AP reported. In Fort Washington, Maryland, one man died of an apparent heart attack while shoveling snow. 11 states from Georgia to New York declares state of emergency. We got to get something. I'm not in the best of health sitting here all of my hours. And when I do go do yard work and stuff like that, yeah, I immediately break into a sweat and my heart's beating, all sort of stuff. So I can imagine if you were actually old, that would wreak havoc on you, because your brain is saying, or you're telling yourself, I need to shovel this entire walkway and my driveway and the sidewalk, and you're just going and your heart says, no, stop. Air traffic ground to a halt across much of East Coast, with more than 10,000 flights canceled nationwide by Saturday afternoon. Underscoring the severity of the storm, all flights were halted Saturday at 4 of the nation's busiest airports: Philadelphia, Washington Dulles, Washington Reagan National, and Baltimore Washington International. Public transportation in Philadelphia, Baltimore, and Washington, D.C. was also shut down, as local officials called on residents to hunker down and stay off the streets for a second day. I can tell you this, a horse and buggy still could make it. This event has all the markings, quote, this event has all the markings of a multi-billion-dollar economic cost, said meteorologist Stephen Bowen of Aon Benfield, a London-based global reinsurance firm. After adding up damage to homes, vehicles, businesses, and more, quote, we're potentially looking at one of the costliest winter storms events in the recent memory, he said. The so-called blizzard of 1996, which had a similar size and scope, had a $4.6 billion economic cost in 2016 dollars. Bowen said, no two events are identical, but this provides some context as to how costly these storms can be. From the NYPD News, the travel ban that begins at 2:30 p.m. is for your safety. Protect yourself and protect others by staying off the road. As New York City travel ban took effect, the National Weather Service predicted 24 to 30 inches of snow for the metropolitan area, putting it within the range of the city's biggest snowstorm on record, 26.9 inches received in 2006. The order, effective mid-afternoon, shut down state highways and 2 major routes on Long Island. Above-ground subway stations in New York City were also being closed as the storm continued to pound the area. Under the ban, only emergency vehicles will be allowed in the streets, and drivers who ignore the order could face heavy fines and license points. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced shortly before 6 p.m. that the travel ban initially scheduled to expire at midnight had been extended until Sunday morning. In response, all Broadway matinees and evening performances for Saturday night were canceled, according to the Broadway League, the official website of the Broadway theater industry. Asked for advice for parents whose kid want frolic in the snow, de Blasio laced empathy with caution. Quote, "If you want to go really quick to someplace near your home, stay with your kids. Adult supervision necessary," he said. "This is a vastly intensifying storm, and it's slippery, it's gusty. I, as a parent, wouldn't let my kid out of my sight." There are reports that they are literally seeing horizontal snow. Stay at home and off the roads. The heaviest snowfall across Maryland and Delaware earlier Saturday before shifting towards southern New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and southeast Massachusetts, the National Weather Service said. The top snowfall total from the storm so far is 40 inches in Glengarry, West Virginia. The Weather Service reported many locations across West Virginia, Maryland, and Virginia topped 2 feet, with more on the way. Quote, "Now is the time for Marylanders to stay at home and off the road," said Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. "This is the safe choice. It will also allow emergency service vehicles to maneuver and road crews to begin the long process of clearing highways and streets." Baltimore Mayor Stephanie Rawling Blake ordered cars without chains or snow tires to stay off the street and avoid creating problems for snow removals. I've already seen a video of buses losing control, careening into cars, and then the cars acting like bowling pins, crashing into each other, parked cars, gaining momentum and then crashing into each other like bowling pins, like it was a bowling pin alley or something like that. And stupid humans trying to stop the car, trying to get in the way, and almost getting crushed by the cars. Leave those cars alone. Get to safety. You can't stop this, people. I mean, just get out of the way. You need to be safe. Your car is nothing. And I hope none of those people who have died so far have died trying to like save their car or something like that. I saw a guy on a river, I guess it's a river or lake. His car went into from the ice, broke the ice, and fell into the lake. He was not in the car. I'm guessing he wasn't in the car. I hope I wasn't seeing somebody die. On Capitol Hill in Washington, people emerged in early afternoon to shovel their sidewalk, dig out their cars, and walk their dogs. Some wore skis to get around. Others dragged sleds toward the Capitol where they could legally ride the sleds this year. But by 3 p.m., the snowfall picked up once again and visibility diminished. They had declared that it would be a whiteout before. Washington Mayor Muriel Bowser urged residents not only to stay off the roads in vehicles, but also not to walk on the snow-covered streets. She said too many people were walking down the middle of the largely empty streets, hampering the work of snowplows and endangering themselves. People are special. Quote, "Visibility is poor and you cannot be seen," Bowser said. "We need you to stay home." In Delaware, Governor Jack Markle banned all but essential personnel from driving on the roads in Kent and Newcastle counties. Quote, "With so much snow accumulating on our roads, conditions are becoming dangerous for any more traffic than absolutely necessary," Markle said Saturday, the News Journal reported. Tidal flooding swamps coastal areas. Along the Delaware and New Jersey coasts, icy floodwaters pushed inland by the storm were surging into neighborhoods. I mean, as if it couldn't get worse. In Seal Isle, New Jersey, tidal flooding sent a river of ice flowing several blocks down JFK Boulevard through a major retail area. Darren Larrick, a dispatcher for the Sea Isle, said the water was beginning to recede in the main street before noon, but was expected to return at high tide after 7 p.m. Quote, "We're just waiting for the water to subside," Larrick said. He said no injuries were reported from the high water, which Larrick said was almost as high as during Superstorm Sandy in 2012. Quote, "When the water just started rushing down, it was as impressive as some of the videos you saw of Japan during the tsunami," said Jason Pellegrini, owner of the Steakout restaurant in Sea Isle City. There's a shout out to you, Jason Pellegrini, who was trapped inside by floodwaters. "It came in that fast," he told AP. In New York City, with 6 inches already on the ground, snow was falling at up to 3 inches per hour Saturday morning, according to Catherine Garcia, commissioner of the city's Department of Sanitation. City sanitation trucks equipped with snow plows and tire chains were making repeated clearing runs on streets across the city 5 boroughs. Quote, "We are trying to stay ahead of the storm, but it is pretty intense," Garcia told WCBS News Radio 88 shortly before 8 a.m. There you go. Shout out WCBS. Cuomo said state officials were paying close attention to ocean and river storm surges during high tides. Quote, "It was higher than usual, but it was not problematic," Cuomo told New York NY1 News. Hopefully I'll post this chart of the how bad it is. While many New Yorkers heeded warnings to stay home, Abdul Rahman worked his normal 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday shift at Punjab, a Southeast Asian deli and newspaper outlet in Manhattan's Gramercy Park neighborhood. Few customers came during the Saturday storm for the usual orders of chai tea or coffee, but one stood transfixed watching a cricket match on the store's. Quote, "It's slow, but because most people know they don't have to go to work, but it's fine," said Rahman. I'm cutting that out. Trapped on highways for hours. Outside the big city, travelers were not faring much better as thousands of accidents were reported. Virginia State Police reported 989 car crashes statewide by late Friday and had assessed nearly 800 disabled vehicles, said Ken Scrad, spokesman for the Virginia State Police Joint Information Center. In Pennsylvania, the National Guard was sent in to help motorists stranded along the westbound lanes of the Pennsylvania Turnpike in Bedford and Somerset counties. Officials said, according to Penn Live, some travelers reported being stuck for at least 10 hours after several tractor trailers had trouble climbing a steep portion of the roadway near Allegheny Mountain Tunnel in Somerset County. The problem prompted the closure of a long section of turnpike from Breezewood to New Stanton in central Pennsylvania. Large portions of Interstate 75 in Kentucky were in gridlock for hours with a 6-mile backup at one point because of wreckage, AP reported. State Trooper Kendra Wilson told CNN on Saturday morning that some people had been trapped in the highway for more than 12 hours. Mike Edmond was stuck in as a truck stop in Kentucky on Friday as snow piled up around him, not daring to venture his big rig out of the slick parking lot and into an interstate strewn with wrecked vehicles, he told the AP phone. Quote, "We've got trucks here that literally cannot get out," Edmond said. "We're spinning. It's not worth even getting out on the road. More havoc for travelers. All of the precipitation associated with the storm should move off the Atlantic coast before sunrise Sunday, leaving clearing skies for the day," weather.com reported. The storm that is a model, that is not anything official. That's their prediction. The storm will likely cause havoc for travelers into Monday. It could easily cause more than $1 billion in damage, Weather Service Director Luis Uncelini said. Daniel Baker, CEO of FlightAware.com, said the blizzard proved worse than anticipated and led to more flight cancellations Sunday for a total of 10,246 for the weekend by 5 p.m. Saturday. Airlines now expect a full recovery of their schedules Monday, he said. United Air, which has a hub at Washington Dulles Airport, announced it would not resume services in Washington on Sunday and would be running a limited schedule at New Jersey's Newark. Baker said. Many travelers were forced to modify their plans in creative ways. 2 buses with 85 students traveling to Washington to mark the anniversary of the Supreme Court's 1973 Roe v. Wade ruling, what an odd thing to celebrate, were stranded in the interstate in Pennsylvania for 19 hours while trying to... Why are students celebrating Roe v. Wade? Students? That's strange. To return home to Sioux Falls, South Dakota on Friday, the Argus leader reported the group built an altar out of snow. It was, quote, it was still snowing while we had Mass. There was singing and cheering, Reverend Sean Haggerty of the Catholic Diocese of Sioux Falls said. Why would Catholics celebrate Roe v. Wade? I don't get it. Anyway, I wish I could have a live feed. This is much better something to do live. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.